Hi there. This presentation was prepared for the communications and marketing teams as a Communications Express on the topic of You're Wrong, the dying art of debating with decorum. The agenda for today: the challenges of debating with decorum, why bother debating at all, and how to debate effectively. I recently entered into a robust debate with my brother about our opposing positions on gun control in the USA. I know I'm right just as much as he knows that he is. After an enthusiastic toing and froing of exchanged statistics about a topic that we're both very passionate about, my brother posted a video of himself putting his two sons to bed. I commented about how much he loves his kids and what a great father he is. And as always, we ended the conversation with love, but still in disagreement with opposing views. It got me thinking, have we lost the ability to debate and disagree with decorum? A lot of disagreements are really based on personal opinion and emotion. For example, in marketing and design, there are certainly a set of rules that one must follow. However, some of the work is completed based on an individual's specific aesthetic preferences. Take the website project as an example. And when debating viewpoints on highly contentious issues, think along the lines of abortion, voluntary euthanasia, religion, etc., oftentimes individuals are extremely passionate about their position, which can quickly result in frustration when someone disagrees. Working in the marketing and communications function provides us with daily situations like this, whereby it's imperative that we must effectively debate a point for the benefit of our business. In a moment, I'd like you to take some time to reflect and share an applicable example in your mind. This might be something like being asked to utilize a marketing tactic that wasn't appropriate, publish a piece of collateral that wasn't on brand, or follow a design aesthetic that was not compliant with our standards. I'll kick it off with an example from a past working life. In a previous role as a head of marketing, I was approached by a senior manager who wished to hold what they were calling a coffee promotion. What this promotion entailed was our organisation paying for and giving away free coffees to all commuters between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. at Sydney's Central Station for a period of 3 weeks. Accompanying the promotion, there was no branded collateral, there was no staff manning the stand to collect the details of any of the individuals receiving the free coffee, and nobody who actually took a coffee would ever know that we paid for it. Obviously, there was a challenge there because I had to debate this issue in a way that kept the senior manager on side, but also resulted in an outcome that was more beneficial for the business. Adding further complication to the art of debate is the connectivity that we all now experience as a globalised world with access to technological advances and social media platforms. In a world where information is so easily accessible and where anybody with a Wi-Fi connection can post an opinion, our daily lives seem to be fraught with disagreement. We argue about a wide-spanning range of topics: politics, religion, music, who should win the voice, often with complete strangers armed with a keyboard that are often hidden behind a screen. Let me be clear, the opportunity to debate is not one that should be limited. Disagreeing with decorum can affect epic global change. Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, and Rosa Parks, they all disagreed. Robert Sharp of the Worldwide Writers Association English Pen stated that the essence of free speech is that we allow people with whom we disagree to speak. Wrong-headed views will be aired, but free speech means no one gets the last word. We can, and indeed we should, use our own right to free speech to challenge expression we think is unpleasant or wrong. The discussion of the possible limits and limitations of free speech recurs on an almost constant basis across social media, and perhaps nowhere so starkly as on Twitter, where those disagreeing with one another can rail at anyone who will listen and indeed anyone who even won't. Twitter's problem is that its encouragement of the individual's broadcast mode, where the superficial appearance of a conversation is in fact just two or more people simply stating and restating their views with an ever-intensifying fury. Nothing real is at stake. The exchange can be abandoned at any point. If you're annoyed with someone, block them. If you're too shy to block them, then mute them. So has the anonymity of the internet turned us all into faceless trolls that have lost the basic decency of debating with decorum? It is possible. So why bother debating at all? Well, mainly we debate to encourage positive social change that adequately encapsulates a wide-spanning range of personal contexts. There's other benefits too. We can gain broad, multifaceted knowledge cutting across issues outside our individual context. We can increase our self-confidence, poise and self-esteem and provide an engaging and active existence for ourselves. Improving rigorous high order and critical thinking skills, we have the opportunity to enhance our ability to structure and organise our thoughts. We enhance our analytical research and note-taking skills, improve our ability to form balanced and informed arguments, and to use reasoning and evidence. Debate can help us to develop effective speech composition and delivery, and it can also encourage teamwork. So what are some of the key elements of debating with decorum? One of the first ones is to make it timely. Sometimes a debate needs to happen, but people are avoiding a confrontation, and so the problem festers and becomes toxic. In time, multiple issues will need fixing and all at once, making the situation especially challenging. And in certain cases, if too much time lapses, it can become almost impossible to do anything to solve the problem. Have the debate as quickly as you possibly can. Be extremely clear about the problem. More often than not, arguments occur because conflicting parties misunderstand the objective of the debate at hand. One of the biggest things to do, and the best things to do, is to set the stage for the discussion, to clarify very explicitly what the purpose of the debate is. Talk about why you're working together on an issue, what's the ideal outcome, because a lot of conflict will occur if you're not talking about the same thing in the first place. If you know that you're both focused on the same purpose or objective, solving the problem becomes a lot more easy. Approach an argument or a debate as a learning experience. In organisations where debate and innovation happens, people are basically taking a learning approach where it's not about winning or proving that you're right, it's about learning together what the best solution is. When both parties put aside their pride and realise that the end goal is not about being right, debates tend to be a lot more constructive. Seek an understanding. Let the debate be like a tennis match. When you debate, state your case clearly and then shut up and let the other individual talk. Lob your arguments over and wait for a response. The least productive debates occur when people believe that whoever talks the most and is the loudest wins. That isn't a debate, that's just bullying. Good arguments are like tennis matches. In tennis, both players aren't trying to hit the ball at the same moment, they wait for their turn. It takes patience and strategy, and the same rules apply to debates. When it's the other person's turn, listen with the goal of comprehending his or her point of view. If you're creating a list of yes buts in your head while the other person talks, then the conversation is doomed because you aren't really listening at all. But when you listen to understand, your physiological response changes. You aren't in such a tense, reactionary state. You might even discover that you enjoy the argument. Advocate for your point of view. Just because the argument isn't about being right, it doesn't mean that you aren't correct in some aspects, so you have to be comfortable with arguing and standing up for your opinions. You just have to go about it in a different way. We have to be comfortable with inquiring and actively listening. When we're advocating for our point of view, we have to be much more explicit about what our assumptions are and why our way might be the way to go. This allows people to understand your point of view and it keeps the conversation from becoming too personal. Ask for some feedback. Trust is a lot about perception, and if I'm trying to exercise influence with you, I have to pay attention to what kind of evidence you need in terms of my competence and my character. We see this in marketing all the time. Oftentimes this can be fixed by just simply asking what it is you can do to make the other person feel more comfortable. It's not easy for people to get feedback on how they're perceived, but if you know how people perceive you, then it's not, even if it's not fair, then you can start from there and figure out what adjustments you might have to make to your argument. Some good can come out of those discussions. Stand up for others. If in a group setting and you see somebody starting to get slightly more aggressive towards another individual, intervene on that person's behalf. If there's some kind of behind the back talking, others' perceptions should not get in the way of progress. It's always important to acknowledge each individual as having the right to have their opinion heard. Don't make it personal. Usually when people fight to win, they fight dirty and then no one wins. When you become fixed on the idea of winning, you might resort to making personal attacks. Confine your comments to the ideas or the behaviour being discussed. Remain professional and do not make personal jabs. If you can use visual, we're highly visual creatures. Arguments can arise when someone else doesn't see your point of view, but if you can help that person see what you see, it might assist. Whip out a pen and draw on a napkin if you need to. Give the person something to look at so that it might result in a, oh, that's what you meant moment. Let the other person's victory become yours. Leadership isn't about being right all the time. If you want a perfect win record, then keep a resume handy because you are going to need another job soon. Don't be afraid to concede and let a colleague win. Giving another person a victory can make him or her feel good, more confident, and perhaps disposed to like you even more. Your loss can still be a victory for you, your team, and the organisation. If it gets too heated, take a step back. If you're passionate about something, the argument is definitely going to get heated. The first step to an effective debate is to remember exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish and to figure out what is getting in your way. If someone sees us as too aggressive, it can be much more explicit about what I'm doing wrong than what I'm not doing at all. And if it gets too heated, you might have to put a hold on the conversation and just return to it later. Ultimately, if open discussion isn't happening and your environment is getting in the way of progress, it's worth looking at why the conditions aren't working for your success. Those are the 12 steps, well, those were the 11 steps that I researched about debating with Decorum. But there is a 12th step of my own that wasn't in the research. And that was my own one of don't argue with an idiot because they'll beat you with their experience. Ultimately, empty vessels make the most noise, and as much as you may have patience and respect for another individual and you might communicate collegiately, sometimes it's just the notion that you're never going to win, so pick your battles and choose which ones are worth fighting.